Hey everybody, how you doing? Tekking101 here, and in today's video we will be continuing our discussion on the One Piece movies. Today we'll be looking at movie number 2, The Clockwork Island Adventure. Because let me tell you, when I think of One Piece, high adventure, traveling the seas as pirates, devil fruits clashing, hockey, all those interesting characters, I think of clocks. That's the one thing that was missing. You add a clock to this mix, and you got the most bombastic, cinematic extravaganza ever to hit the freaking silver screen, okay? Actually, fun fact, this movie right here, this one, the second one, grossed the most yen up until Strong World. This had a 3 billion yen box office that just trounced every single One Piece movie up until movie 10. And then, of course, after that, you got, Film Z, Film Gold, and now Stampede, obviously going to make more than that because One Piece is a huge freaking franchise right now. It's known all over the world. But this was back right before the crew hit the Grand Line in the anime. One Piece was popular, sure, popular enough to get a movie, or 2 movies in this case, but not like this huge phenomenon yet. So yeah, this one, for whatever reason, grossed a lot of money, and I've seen it, and I liked it more than the first one, but I'm just kind of scratching my head at it a little bit, you know? It's like, wow. Alright, so just like the last one, One Piece the movie, I mentioned last time, the first 3 One Piece films were released as part of the Spring Anime Fair as a double feature alongside Digimon movies. So One Piece had not yet stood on its own yet. They haven't really had, like, their own theatrical run yet. That won't happen until movie 4, which is Dead End Adventure. That's the first one that's, like, where people could actually go to the theater and sit down and watch as like a proper One Piece movie standalone thing. That was also like movie length, like an hour and a half. This one we're still looking at under an hour at only around 55 minutes, and it was released alongside Digimon, The Revenge of Diaboromon, which I also don't remember. I want to think that was also part of the American Digimon movie. See, what they did, and people like even explained to me last time, the Our War Game movie that was released alongside the first One Piece movie, that was the second part of the American Digimon movies. This is confusing me because what they did is they took 3 separate Digimon movies, mashed them together, and released them as the American version. Don't know why they did that, but they did. But yeah, I think, was Revenge of Diaboromon also in the American version? I think it was, right? Well, anyway, does Clockwork Island Adventure hold up? Is it better than the first one? Well, I would like to say it is. A lot of the things that we see later on in the One Piece films kind of happened for the first time here in this one. For example, the costume changes. So any fan of One Piece movies now, if you've seen Strong World, Film Z, Film Gold, and Stampede coming up, is the character art that gets released. You know, what kind of outfits are the Straw Hats going to be wearing? How much of Nami's boobs are going to be popping out? These are the questions that we, and I mean when I say I mean we, ask with the new One Piece films, okay? So, it's not just because of like a new aesthetic for the film. You know, here's a costume that Luffy only wears in Film Z, and that's what makes it special, right? It's also for the sake of merchandise. You know, you got more action figures and figurines to sell to people, right? But it kind of started out with this, because in the first movie, the Straw Hats just wore their regular outfits all the way through. This one, they go through at least 2 different costume changes. They start off with their normal outfits, and then they wear outfits like indicative of a wedding, and then later on, when they get to Clockwork Island, they switch into more just like casual Hawaiian garbs, you know, like Sanji rocks a Hawaiian shirt, you know, nothing crazy, but it sets up stuff that would happen later, where every movie they would get kind of a new outfit to kind of rock, you know? Another thing the movie manages to do is set up the dynamic between how the Straw Hats face off against the big bads. Alright, last time it was pretty simple. It's like the Straw Hats just arrive at the island, Zoro cuts down that mercenary dude, Luffy defeats El Drago, not a big deal. There wasn't really that many enemies in the last one that could hold a candle to the Straw Hats. Like, Usopp really didn't have anybody major to fight last time, you know what I mean? So usually how One Piece movies work with that right now is that the Straw Hats will land on their island, or like the giant boat in Film Gold. They'll meet the big bads like Gil Tesoro and his band, and the villains of the movie will usually do a pretty good job of screwing the Straw Hats over early on. The Straw Hats will either be defeated by their weird devil fruit powers, or they'll play dirty, or they'll ambush them, or the villains will do something to get a one-up on the Straw Hats, okay? And so the Straw Hats have a moment of like, crap, we've been defeated. And then the rest of the movie is kind of building that up, ready for the counter assault, and then the end of the movie is that assault where they defeat defeat the villains once and for all. Basically kind of the same deal that happens here, just a lot more simplistically, because we're only talking about the second movie. So the movie starts off with the Straw Hats just chilling out on some random beach, not doing anything in particular. Nami's getting a suntan, so that's always welcome. But anyway, Luffy's supposed to be watching the Mary, but, you know, it's Luffy. He gets kind of distracted by shiny things. In this instance, he picks up this random windmill, like, wind-up toy he finds on the beach and starts playing with that, and not paying attention, so somebody, we don't see who, commandeers the Mary and begins sailing it away. Luffy tries to grab it, but they're out of his stretch range, so they have to go find another ship to chase after the Mary. So already, we're starting off on a little bit more of an exciting note than the last time, where the three dipshit siblings arrived to just rob the Mary blind. Here, it's like, okay, some unseen figure, we don't know who it was, stole the Mary, we have to get it back. So the only other place on the island that has a boat that they can get is a wedding chapel. So they get like a swan-like paddle boat, so it's a funny scene where all the Straw Hats are crowding up on this boat and, you know, sailing off trying to chase after the Mary, where you have Sanji and Nami dressed up like the groom and the bride, respectively. You have Usopp dressed like a traditional Japanese priest for the wedding. It's kind of a funny scene, right? So while chasing after the Mary, they stumble upon a little kid in the water that's drowning. They go to help the kid, but it turns out it was all an act, and the kid, named Akisu, raises up a giant net and traps all the Straw Hats in there. Akisu is going to be our little kid that's going to journey with the Straw Hats for this adventure. Deja vu. You're noticing a trend here. Yeah, Akisu, though, is actually a little bit more relevant to the plot than Tobio was. Kind of, in the sense that Tobio didn't really have anything to do with the plot of One Piece the movie, whereas Akisu at least ties back into the Clockwork Island plot, but not in any way that really matters. Like, I'll even spoil it for you right now, okay? You ready for this? Okay. Akisu used to live on Clockwork Island, but then he got separated, and his older brother, Boruto, picked him up, and they traveled the seas, and at the end of the movie, Akisu gets to go back home. Do you, I mean, I guess that's a good thing, you know? Oh, he found his family again, that's nice, but, you know, I don't really care. His older brother Boruto is way more interesting, and together they make up the legendary Thief Brothers. Although I have to question Boruto's fashion choices. He goes the entire movie wearing this really thick kind of trench coat jacket sort of deal, and I'm just wondering, like, this entire movie takes place in a tropical environment. Aren't you hot, dude? But whatever. Anyway, the Straw Hats have a little query as to where the Mary is, and although the Thief Brothers don't know exactly where it's located, they know who probably stole it. Around these parts of the waters, there's a notorious pirate gang known as the Trump Siblings! And before you even say it, yes, it was the first thing I thought of too. Not these Trump Siblings, these Trump Siblings. So yeah, I should talk a little bit about the time frame of this. This movie takes place after Logtown because Zoro has his Sandai Katetsu and his Yubashiri, and Usopp has his goggles. But the Straw Hats haven't quite gotten to Reverse Mountain yet because that's actually a post-credit scene. So it takes place pretty much around the same time that the Warship Island arc would take place in the anime. In fact, the Warship Island arc was going on concurrently with this in the anime. So I guess you could just swap out that for this. And the East Blue, in this part anyway, is ruled over by the Trump Siblings that have their home base on Clockwork Island. Who are the Trump Siblings? Well, they're led by the notorious Bear King with a bounty of 11,600,000. Then there's Honey Queen, who's really, really sexy because she can turn into jelly and get all sticky and moist, and she's got big boobies. Okay, she has a bounty of 7,800,000. Then there's Pin Joker, who messes up puns all the time. Like, he'll be like, it's like shooting fish in a barrel, except he'll say, it's like shooting fish in a quarrel. You know, that's his shtick. He just messes up puns the entire movie. Also, him and Zoro have a backstory, because remember, Zoro, before meeting Luffy, was a bounty hunter. He would just travel the East Blue and just cut people down for the bounty. In this case, one of those people was Pin Joker. The scar on his face was caused by Zoro. However, Zoro doesn't really remember him at all, so that's going to be his enemy throughout the course of this. Pin Joker's bounty is 9,900,000, and then we have Skunk One, whose name is pretty much self-explanatory. He has the power of stink. He has like a jetpack that shoots nauseous gas out. You get it, alright. And then rounding us out, we have Boo Jack, who has the lowest bounty at 3,200,000. And I guess you probably figured out what their whole aesthetic is, but King, Queen, Queen, Jack, 1, or Ace, okay, alright, you guys might want to change out your naming scheme, because the Beast Pirates, I think they're going to file suit. I mean, you don't want to go into court with Kaido, alright? Oh my god, I'm imagining this, there's a court case to determine, copyright and stuff. Imagine Kaido walking in wearing a business suit, same expression on his face, same just but he's wearing, glasses and a slick back hairstyle, and he walks in and he's just like, these individuals clearly infringed on my rights. I was pirating in the New World long before they began their operations in the East Blue. In fact, if you look to this piece of evidence right here, subsection A, that would be great. I need to see that. I want to see that. Okay. So anyway, though. Yeah, these are the main enemies of the movie, and it's actually, we don't find out what their bounties are until way later, and I don't mean later in the movie, I mean later in the series of movies. We do not find out the bounties of these guys until the 9th movie, Chopper's, Drum Island Adventure or whatever. And we also find out Drago's bounty, though, and his is 12 million. So yeah, the main bad guy from the last movie had a higher bounty than the main bad guy from this movie, and this movie ended up being better. So this is a perfect example of bounty does not mean everything. So we know the main bad guys for this movie. That's great. When are they gonna show up? Well, right now, because this movie's only 55 minutes long and we're gonna get this plot train moving, okay? So in a scene that's actually rather reminiscent of when the Straw Hats ran into Yonji and Reiju, all of a sudden a fleet of ships arrive in front of the crew, as well as Boruto and Akisu, and this fleet of ships is, of course, led by the Trump siblings, Honey Queen and Bojack. Bojack doesn't have a devil fruit, but he has the ability to shoot spikes out of his body, and he uses this just to destroy various vessels. And then Honey Queen does have a devil fruit, the coveted Toro no Mi, or the jelly fruit, sometimes referred to as the fluid fruit. I'm just gonna go with jelly because adding fluid into a devil fruit, that's a whole other list of problems. Although not impossible. I made a video on how maybe a water fruit could work, but yeah, she has the ability to turn into jelly, so she can basically squeeze through any sort of faucet and travel that way, or trap people like that, or we don't really get to see her do it, but I mean, she could just shove herself down someone's... Oh, okay, I'm gonna stop there, alright? But the point is she's dangerous, and also dead sexy. The first time we see her, she's bathing naked in a giant bathtub on top of her ship. So, Sanji had a lot of fun with that, and she just kind of plays around, very flirtatious. She's just like, oh, you want your ship back. Well... Bojack, reward them. Honey Queen is the best part of this entire movie for me, and I don't think I need to explain why. So yeah, they didn't really succeed in their first fight against the Trump siblings. How bad did they fail? Well, Nami got kidnapped, so that's a thing. Nami spends most of the movie in Trump Castle just kind of, hanging out with the Trump siblings. There's a subplot with Bear King about to marry her because she's in a wedding dress, so... there's that. Meanwhile, Boruto, Akisu, and the rest of the Straw Hats head toward the eponymous Clockwork Island to rescue Nami. Though we get to see it in its full scope, and it's actually a pretty cool design for an island. The whole thing is basically just on this really long, just pillar, I guess, in the middle of the ocean made out of stone, and the island itself spreads out like a giant pancake on top of it. The island was artificially built, which makes me wonder why... I mean, it looks cool, but why would you build an island like this? This thing looks like if a major, storm or, a tsunami comes through, the whole thing gets snapped and the whole island just comes crashing down. Foreshadowing? I don't know. But anyway, the point is, they have to get up this giant pillar in order to even reach the town. And of course, the entire pillar is booby-trapped with stairs that come falling down, and then, rushing water coming along the way, and boulders about to crush, and spikes, and walls, and you know how it goes. It's very typical Indiana Jones kind of traps. So after some trouble, though, they manage to get to the top of the island, and they look upon Clockwork Town and Trump Castle that's looming over them. Interesting little Easter egg is that when Usopp zooms into Trump Castle, we get to see the Mary located at the very top, which is that's where they need to go to get their ship back, but you also see a Baroque Works vessel in the exact same location. So, my thoughts on this is that one member of Baroque Works, maybe like Mr. 12 or Mr. 10, somebody we never saw, got it in their heads to go and invade the East Blue, to expand Baroque Works out, because Baroque Works is mostly only in the Grand Line, the first half of the Grand Line. So, he's like, I'm gonna go into the East Blue and start my own Baroque Works or whatever, maybe break off from Crocodile, and then they got into the Trump siblings' territory and they immediately took them in and captured them. That's my perspective on that. So anyway, they know where they need to go, but priorities are priorities. Nami's kidnapped, whatever. They need to go get some food and a change of clothes first. Yeah, I'm being dead serious here. They land at the top of the island. They look around the whole Clockwork town. It looks really cool. Once again, kind of straight out of a Miyazaki kind of movie. Feels like kind of same, like, Spirited Away vibe to me. But, yeah, Luffy's like, yeah, okay, we'll go save Nami later. I'm gonna go get some food and a change of clothes. Also, Sanji's cool with this, where you think Sanji would be the first one to be like, Nami Swan, I'm coming to save you. But it's like, no. These threads, I mean, I'm wearing like a wedding, like a groom tuxedo. It's kind of all shredded. I need to get some more breathable threads, So they go into a shop and they buy new clothes. Okay, guys, Nami could literally being tortured as we're speaking right now, so it's a little weird that you're doing this. I mean, I get Luffy wanting to go get meat first, but Sanji, it just seems out of character for him. It also kind of seems out of character for Luffy to just be like, all right, guys, we need a change of clothes. When has Luffy ever really cared about, guys, I got a stain on my vest. We are not fighting against these villains until we look fabulous. Alright? It just seems a little weird. The whole point of this is for them to go into actual Clockwork Town to meet the people that live there and get to feel like what's really going on. Clockwork Town, like I said, was artificially created, and at a time it was absolute paradise and happiness, and everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. The Trump siblings attacked. They eventually meet these two people in this random cafe area. One's a woman, one's a guy. They look like scientists. Later on, we're gonna find out these are Akisu's parents, so who cares? They talk about the diamond clock and how they built it to honor the birth of their child, who is Akisu. They don't really reveal that now, though. And, of course, that's what Boruto's main focus is, at least we think it is, to steal the diamond clock. The people tell them that they don't even care. They can take the diamond clock if they want to. However, it's going to be very difficult because the diamond clock is located on Trump Castle. So, is everybody good now? Is everybody set? We set up some weird random backstory for the little kid character we don't care about whatsoever. The Straw Hat's got a change of clothes. Luffy got some snacks. Are we good? Can we just go to Trump Castle now? Well, we can't, because now we have to have the scene in the movie where various Trump siblings come out and attack the Straw Hats and defeat them sequentially. So first we have Bojack coming down to fight against Sanji. Bojack, like I said, can protrude spikes out of his body, and he can also create these little wool balls that, get, sent out toward the enemy that can also emit spikes. So pretty much exactly like Kuromarimo from Drum Island. There's a lot of references from early Grand Line arcs in this movie. This leads to actually probably the most grisly scene in any One Piece movie, where you get to see Sanji go to kick one of these balls, and then spikes poke out at the last minute, and you actually see the spikes go into Sanji's foot as he kicks it full force. Like, oh god. And then Bojack takes him into the castle, ties him up, throws him down next to Nami, and his feet are still like geysering blood. So it's really just, oh god, Sanji, Like, and there's no chopper yet, so this is not good, right? Then we have Skunk One that comes down and kidnaps Usopp, to which they then string up Sanji and Usopp outside the castle, basically just as serving as a message to Luffy from Bear King, like, come and get them, Straw Hat, they're right here, I'm gonna marry your navigator. So yeah. Oh, and by the way, do you want to know about Bear King's, like, ultimate final goal in this movie? Like his nefarious plan to take over the East Blue? Suffice it to say, it's significantly better than El Drago's from the previous movie. El Drago's goal wasn't even really a goal for, like, taking over the world or anything. He just wanted a bunch of gold to rub on his little Drago. So, anyway, though, Bear King's whole goal here is, I'm gonna create a giant gun, and I can shoot it at things. So, like, it's better than the first one. Like, I just want to take a bunch of gold. At least here it's like, alright, you want a giant gun that you could shoot at ships, and you could rule over the entire East Blue from your sky fortress, which really just looks like you get a few cannonballs on that pillar and the whole thing comes tumbling down. But alright, Bear King, it's fine. And who arrives to reveal the new weapon, the King Cannon? Oh, it is none other than Donnie, Danny, and Denny. Oh, hi, Denny! Oh, and by the way, some people corrected me last time, like, Tekking. It's oh hi Mark, not oh hi Denny. He still says it in the movie. It's not as much of a well-known line, but Tommy does indeed just say, oh hi Denny, when Denny first walks into the house. So yeah, suck it. I am a master of the room. Alright, so no, yeah, it's the three dipshit siblings again. After working on El Drago's crew, they even mention, like, man, this is way better than working on El Drago's crew, Mr. Bear King. You give us cooler outfits and a cooler weapon. That's pretty sweet. So yeah, they don't don't really do much in this movie. After seeing the Straw Hats are there, they just kind of exit stage left and hopefully escape the inevitable destruction of this entire island. Have I been hyping it up that this entire island is just gonna fall apart? Because the entire island does indeed just fall apart by the end of the movie. So, yeah, that probably resulted in the death of a few people. But anyway, no. So the group, now consisting of Luffy, Zoro, Boruto, and Akisu, managed to reach Trump Castle, but this, of course, also has a lot of booby traps a la Indiana Jones. In this case, a ceiling that drops, on top of Zoro and Luffy, so they have to hold it up. Boruto could save them, but he decides not to. This is where we get the big reveal of the movie. Boruto wasn't trying to steal away the diamond clock at all. He was simply trying to return Akisu to his homeland, which is, in fact, the Clockwork Island to begin with! Oh, that's not that big of a deal. And also, it raises some questions. Boruto also reveals the reason why he even brought along the Straw Hats here. He says he thought that the Straw Hats would have been able to defeat the Trump siblings, but Nami got kidnapped, Usopp and Sanji got roundly defeated, and now Zoro and Luffy are about to get crushed by a giant wall. So Boruto just decided to go and face Bear King alone. Alright, well, that's all well and good. Wait a second, why don't you save them from the freaking ceiling dropping then? He says, this is literally how he says this. He's like, I thought you guys would have been able to be strong enough to take down the Trump siblings, but I was wrong. So I guess I'll just go take care of them on my own. I'm like, yeah, right, but Luffy and Zoro are still there, you idiot. Save them, and then instead of having one person to go after Bear King, you will have 3. You're almost there. All right, 3 is a bigger number than 1. And don't even say to me, Boruto's trying to be like, oh, I'm gonna save Luffy and Zoro from, the battle so they don't get killed, and I'm just gonna put all the burden on me. They're about to be crushed by a ceiling. He just leaves them like that. Screw you, Boruto. I liked you at first, and, I was willing to forgive your fashion choice in the middle of the tropics, but this is just weird, right? And also, it raises so many questions. Like, why didn't you just tell Akisu to begin with this is where he's from? It doesn't seem to be that much of a carefully guarded secret, you know what I mean? Anyway, Boruto goes all the way up to the Trump siblings' throne room where Bear King resides, and he kind of pulls a Dr. Hireluck where he has a bunch of dynamite on him, just planning to obliterate the entire island in the process, or at least the entire castle. Bear King is a lot faster than he looks, though, and manages to manhandle Boruto and beat him into the side of a wall multiple times. So, alright, I'm sorry. I take back what I said about you, Boruto. Meanwhile, Pin Joker arrives and uses these poisonous needle feather things to attack Zoro with, so now Luffy is left to just hold up the entire wall by himself. But, with a little bit of inspiration from Akisu, Luffy summons up all of his shonen protagonist powers and lifts up the wall by himself and then escapes. So now we move on to the final battle of the movie. Once again, it's 55 minutes. We gotta really get this thing moving along. So, Usopp manages to get aboard the Mary and throw down Zoro's swords and Sanji's shoes so they can defeat Bojack and Pin Joker respectively. Meanwhile, Usopp has access to his arsenal, fires one of his exploding stars right into Skunk One's little jetpack that emits the gas, and so he explodes, probably dead. And then meanwhile, freaking Nami manages to defeat Honey Queen in the sexiest battle that ever got put to a One Piece film. I'm surprised. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. Nami and Honey Queen, she turns into jelly. They're getting all sticky. They're on the ground. I mean, it's just insanity. Oh, wait, sorry. No, that was my fantasy here. No, after everybody was pretty much defeated, Honey Queen tries to escape into a faucet, but Nami closed off the faucet and just rerouted it inside of a giant jar, and so Honey Queen just arrives in the jar, to which Nami then screws the top on and then just defeats her. So, yeah. Bounty of 7 million something, and Nami defeats her pretty soundly. Actually, this is a moment where she has the third highest bounty after Bear King and Pin Joker, and she still manages to, so Nami has the moment where she defeats one of the strongest and the only Logia that we've seen so far in this entire movie. Nami is a badass. You don't screw with her. So all we have left is our main villain versus main character fight. We got Luffy versus Bear King. Now, Bear King also has a devil fruit, the Kachi Kachi no Mi, or the Hard Fruit, which leads into really one of the most sexually provocative battles in the entire... Okay, no. Now, it allows him to make his body really hard. So at first, Luffy has some problems. He uses Gatling on him, but it doesn't really seem to do anything. And this also leads into Bear King actually being the first character in the entire story, at least in the entire anime, to utilize a heat-based devil fruit. fruit, because there's like 4 of these. You got Bear King, you got Donacino from the Ice Hunter filler, you got Oven and, you know, the Netsu Netsunomi in Totland in the manga, and then you also have, oh, there was another, oh yeah, Bill for the Gutsu Gutsu, the Blast Furnace fruit from the Silver Mine arc. So there's a lot of devil fruits that result in a lot of, like, heat generation, but Bear King was the first. Technically, we didn't even get Ace yet in the anime, although he does appear in a post-credits scene, so that's cool. So yeah, Bear King can not only tank all of Luffy's hits, but he can also heat up his body enough. The name Kachi Kachi refers to, like, banging rocks together to create a spark, or, like, flint to create a campfire, so that's why, you know, if he just makes his body hard enough, it just heats up in the process. And it looks kind of hopeless for a while until Boruto busts out the King Cannon, that giant gun, which actually looks a lot more like Wapple's giant cannon thing that we see in the Drum Island arc. Boruto fires off a shot trying to defeat Bear King, however he misses, and the blast lands in an ocean in kind of a lackluster explosion. I was expecting like a blast from that cannon to just like hit the water and be like a nuclear bomb going off, but it was more of just kind of like a... Like, there's an explosion, sure, but I don't think it's anything to really write home about. I mean, you really could have went crazy with that. You could have had, like, you know, and then, like, everything goes silent, and then just... boom! You know, like just a huge explosion in the distance. Really to kind of make us feel like, man, we need to defeat these guys. If they get a hands on that weapon, the whole East Blue is going to be defeated. I don't really think they could have defeated, I don't think they could have really trumped the Marines with that weapon. I'm just saying, right? Even with their high vantage point. So anyway, the final clash ends with the King Cannon being destroyed. Luffy grabbing one of the giant bullets and then resulting in a movie-only technique, Gumu Gumu no Neji, or Gumu Gumu no Screw. So Luffy kind of spins back his body a bunch of times like he's using hammer, and he grabs the bullet, and he basically just drives it right into freaking Bear King like a giant drill. Just... and he just gets knocked back. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but the entire floor of the Trump siblings, like, throne room is plate glass with a giant, like, clockwork, you know, feature in there. I don't know why they would set that up as their... you know, as their freaking throne room, but okay. So, the bullet actually doesn't succeed in damaging Bear King. His body is actually hard enough so it can even resist that. But the entire glass floor just shatters apart, and he falls down. The clockwork inside gets destroyed, and we find out that that clockwork was the only thing supporting the entire island. So, by the end of this movie, pretty much all the Trump siblings are dead, because we don't really see them afterwards. The entire island just collapses in on itself. All of the citizens manage to survive. Akisu's parents, that we don't even know the name of, managed to survive, so good for that, I guess. But as for the rest of the villains, yeah, they just get buried in a giant rubble pile. And, you know, like, Honey Queen was in a jar. She has a Logia. She's in the water now. Same with Bear King. So... maybe it's like the other members managed to save them, but I don't know. Pretty sure Usopp killed Skunk 1. Pin Joker just got sliced down by Zoro. Sanji slammed Bojack into the ground, so they might still be alive. But yeah, it's like adventure on the magical Clockwork Island, and it just gets reduced to a pile of rubble because the Straw Hats were fighting a little bit. Honestly, it is kind of Luffy's fault. He's the one that kind of destroyed the mechanism that kept it up there, so if you want that as a nice little ending shot of the movie, like, Luffy's the one that destroyed their entire home. Although there is some hope at the end of it, because the people of Clockwork Island kind of get together and say, now that the Trump siblings are defeated, we will build a new island. I'm like, yeah, that's great. How about you try not building it on a giant, like, stick, essentially? That would probably be a better idea. Well, or better yet, why not just find an uninhabited island and just settle there and build agriculture? Have you ever played Settlers of Catan? You know, just do that. You're thinking about this a little bit too complicated, you know? So that brings the Straw Hats' second movie outing to a close. We end out the credits with the second One Piece opening, Believe, playing, and we get a bunch of shots of the Baroque Work saga coming up. We get shots of the Straw Hats ascending Reverse Mountain. We get to see Whiskey Peak a little bit, along with Vivi, the only time we actually get to see her original manga outfit in the anime, although it is slightly obscured. Karu's looking a little weird in the background. We get to see Mr. 3 and Miss Golden Week on Vacation Island. Then we cut over to Drum Island, where we get to see Dalton, as well as with Chopper working in the castle. Kureha's there as well, but we don't see her face. And actually, thinking about it now, if you were not reading the One Piece manga at this point, if you were only looking at the anime, and you saw this teaser shot of Chopper and Kureha, you don't get to see Kureha's face, so you might be thinking like, oh man, who's that sexy lady right there? I can't wait till we get to see her coming up in the anime. I'm sure at least one person had that thought anyway. We even get to see a shot of Ace very briefly, and then we cut over to Alabasta for the final shot where Robin is, oh my god, so freaking pale. What the hell? Is Robin a vampire in this shot? Look at her. She's wearing all black, twirling some wine in a shadowy casino underground, and her skin, I mean, like, I'm kind of pale. I mean, you've seen this, right? But holy crap, they didn't even try to give her skin any tone here. Crocodile's way in the background in the shadows, but that's not even what I'm paying attention to. Robin, are you secretly a vampire? Like, it's okay, you can tell me, but okay, that was a little weird. Alright, so anyway, other than, you know, Robin being Elvira, this movie was pretty cool. I liked it. Actually, no, well, Robin being Elvira would be pretty cool. She has the boobs for it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Next time we'll be looking at movie number 3, Chopper's Kingdom on the Island of Strange Animals. Chopper has arrived in the series, and they are gonna do everything possible to increase that merch sale. Hope you guys enjoyed. Tekking signing out. Waiting for the thing to stop so I can continue the intro. Okay, I think it's slowing down. Hey everybody, how you doing? Tekking101 here. In today's video, we will be continuing our discussion